So all these like judgments that I've had to, I don't want to say break through glass ceilings, but just slash away with my sword has made me really resilient, but also allowed me to tell people who don't care about what people assume you are. You know who you are. You'll get a chance. Just be you, be centered, and wait, and you'll get your opportunity.
Welcome to On Brand with Donny Deutsch. I am Donny Deutsch, and this is the podcast dedicated to a premise that we're all brands. Every person today, every celebrity, every athlete, every company, every product, every institution is a brand. The brand is a set of values. We do two things on the show. We have a big interview with somebody about their own personal brand, and today we have Vanessa Williams, of course, former Miss America. She's on Broadway now. She's a brilliant actress, singer, dancer, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful life story. We're going to talk to Vanessa Williams. And we also do what we call our brands of the week, which are the brands that are kind of setting the agenda for what's going on in the world, which brands are up, which brands are down. Let's get right to it. First up, January 6th hearing. Brand Up. Their latest primetime session was a little bit of a drop-off, 17.7 million viewers, but across the board, they've been averaging 13 million viewers. I've said it before on the show. I'll say it again. They've done a masterful job of telling a story, which is what this is about. And I believe they are going to have a profound effect on the future of this country. And they've gotten Brand Up many times on this, but I can't say enough for what a wonderful, wonderful job that they're doing. Brand Down for Josh Hawley. Speaking of the January 6th, this is amazing. Josh Hawley, the schmuck senator from Missouri, who had his fist pumped, on the day of January 6th, like, you go get him, was caught on tape. They showed him, and it was actually, the audience laughed, showing him running from the rioters, the very rioters he inspired, but he was almost like prancing. The way he was running like a frightened child. It wasn't even like just kind of like hurrying up a little bit. He was just prance running. The tough guy, the fist pump guy, just showing what a coward he was at the end of the day, like all the other rioters there. So a brand down for Josh Hawley. Brand up for Rupert Murdoch's newspapers, not Fox News, but his newspapers, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Post, have been very forthcoming about Trump and about the January 6th. I'm going to read from the Wall Street Journal editorial. The brute fact remains, Mr. Trump took an oath to defend the Constitution, and he had a duty as commander-in-chief to protect the Capitol from a mob attacking his name. He refused, and they go on and on and on. New York Post editorial, as followers stormed the Capitol, calling on his vice president to be hanged, President Donald Trump sat in his private dining room watching TV, doing nothing. It's up to the Justice Department to decide if this is a crime, but as a matter of principle, as a matter of character, Trump has proven himself unworthy to be this country's chief executive again. So I think this is a little precursor of what's going to happen also with Fox News. I think they're not going to be behind Trump going forward. And I think if you don't have Fox News, you got problems. And that's going to be a TBD. Brand down for U.S. businesses. Only 10% of U.S. businesses have come out with a stance post Roe v. Wade. A lot of businesses came forward when it came to issues of LGBTQ rights, but they've been silent on abortion. It's too controversial for them. And I don't know, as I said, only 10% of companies have made a plan or plan to make a public statement about abortion in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision overturning Roe v. Wade. And I think that's going to be interesting because I think, as I've said many times on the show, consumers today, particularly young consumers, want to hear where their companies stand on certain issues. And certain companies have come out very forcefully and said they will actually pay for any of their employees who are in states where it will be illegal to get an abortion to travel to states where it is illegal. And it's going to be interesting to see from a commerce point of view how businesses are affected by them coming out or not coming out post Roe v. Wade with a stance. Brand down for the U.S. Army. It's always brand down for the U.S. Army. I don't want to say it that way. Brand down for the recruiting of the U.S. So they've been missing their recruiting goals for the first time by tens of thousands. The Army is forecasted to fall short of its recruiting and retention goals over the next 2 years by tens of thousands of troops. Top Army leaders warned in a memo released yesterday. It basically the end of the fiscal year with 446,000 soldiers, which should be under strength by at least 7,000. So they've got to figure something out there. We obviously need the recruits, and once again, can't say enough. And I excuse the slip by saying brand down for the U.S. Army. Always a brand up for our friends in armed services. I'm just in awe every time I see somebody in uniform thinking what they do and how they put their life on the line for us. Brand up for the FCC. FCC is cracking down on auto warranty robocalls. This is great. The Federal Communications Commission is taking aim at a group of individuals accused of sending more than 8 billion spam calls since 2018. The U.S. telecom providers will now be required to block millions of illegal robocalls advertising extended vehicle warranties. I know we've all gotten them, so yay, FCC. Brand down for monkeypox. Brand up for monkeypox, I guess, if you're monkeypox. World Health Organization has declared multipox a global health emergency. And the only thing I want to say there is, it's still not catching on in the media as the last pandemic did. We've got to keep, once the World Health Organization declares something a global health emergency, it is. It says more than 16,000 cases have now been reported from 75 countries and territories with 5 deaths. And scary stuff. So brand up for monkeypox. Brand down for social media advertising. This is interesting harbinger. Snap, Twitter sparked new fields of broader advertising market decline. Snap and Twitter announced poor quarterly results in July, renewing concerns of a broader slowdown in the online market, which tells me that this is a little bit of a harbinger of recession, because if social media advertising is down, traditional advertising media is going to be way down, because that's the growth engine. That's where all the money's been going. That's where you can see ROI. That's I think the last thing you're going to cut. And the fact that it's trending downward is not a good sign for advertising in general. And advertising is an indicator about recession. Brand down for Elon Musk, 2 reasons. One, there was a shirtless picture of him in Mykonos on Ari Emanuel's yacht, and as opposed to Jeff Bezos' shirtless picture years ago, which showed a very buff billionaire. This is a very unbuffed billionaire. Yet, at the same time, we have news breaking that he was having an affair with Sergey Brin, one of the founders of Google, his woman. So sleazy guy that he is, Elon Musk. As time goes on, this becomes a more and more unlikable character. Certainly his shirtless photo is not going to help his brand. Brand down for Vince McMahon. The CEO, basically the creator of WWE, is stepping down as chairman of CEO. This is after Wall Street Journal report revealed the investigation into a secret $3 million settlement given by McMahon to a former WWE paralegal. That's a big settlement. So something fucking went down there. But what this is going to affect the WWE, what people don't understand, I promoted one of my old shows, was doing a promo because the WWE was leading into one of my TV shows on USA Network. And I remember going down there and shooting like a little promo. And like Vince McMahon signs off on every script. Everything you see, not that you're watching WWE every night, but I've never seen a more hands-on executive in the creation. And this is a big circus, WWE. It's brilliantly scripted, whether you like it or not. You have to marvel at the production. They do about 230 of these live shows a year, and they wrap up their tents and they go to the next city. And Vince McMahon is there writing every script, is not writing, certainly signing off, even promos. So I think that it's going to be interesting to watch the WWE as a business. Brand up for Pat Benatar. She's dropped "Hit Me With Your Best Shot" from her concerts in deference to gun violence victims. And that's like one of her, if not her biggest hits, but she's just not going to play it anymore. She says, "I'm sorry, in deference to the victims and the families of these mass shootings, I'm not singing it." I tell them, if you want to hear the song, go home and listen to it. So good for you, Pat Benatar. I'm not saying that's going to save lives, but that is a very kind of right spirit thing. Brand up for Wendell Pierce. Wendell Pierce, who was in, best known for his act in The Wire, is going to be in The Death of a Salesman. He's the first Black Willie Loman ever to be on Broadway, coming this fall. So just like we've got a Black Superman coming, we've got a Black Willie Loman in Death of the Salesman. And that's just got to be a good thing. Arthur Miller's classic classic Death of a Salesman is coming back to Broadway this fall. Brand down, I think, for Disney. I think we might be going a little too far here. Disney is swapping fairy godmother roles in the parks for gender-neutral apprentice. So follow me on this one. Disney's famed Bibbidi-Dee Boutique gets a more neutral title. Boutique cast members who help children dress as their favorite Disney characters will now be called fairy godmothers apprentices instead of fairy godmothers in training, to allow workers who do not identify as women to be part of the magic. I don't know. I shouldn't say brand down. I don't know what I say, but that's what Disney's doing. So I'll change my brand down to a brand neutral in celebration, I guess, of what they're doing here. But I don't know, getting a little crazy. Toys R Us, brand up. Toys R Us shops, of course, they've disappeared. They've gone out of business. But Macy's is bringing back Toys R Us shops for Christmas. Some of them will be 1,000 feet. Some will be 10,000 feet. But Toys R Us, Jeffrey the Giraffe will live again. So brand up for Toys R Us. Brand down for socks. Why do I say this? Because there's now a $420 pair of socks. You could buy a pair of socks for $400. So I don't know if it's brand down for socks. Brand down for $420 socks. That's right. That's Gucci and Adidas are doing a collaboration in shoes and other things. And part of their sock collaboration is going to have $400 socks. So there you go. I don't know what to say about that. Brand up for Heinz. They're coming out with spoon-shaped French fries. They're called spoon fries, and you get 7 in a box, and they're shaped like spoons, so you can get more ketchup on. I love that. I love that. And finally, brand up again for VELVEETA. We talked we talked a few weeks ago about VELVEETA becoming a lifestyle brand, and they were doing cheese-scented nail polishes. Now they're going further by partnering with BLT Restaurant Group to serve VELVEETA martinis. That's right. For $15 at BLT Steak in Washington or BLT Prime in New York, you get VELVEETA-infused vodka, olive brine, and vermouth garnished with a cheese drip, VELVEETA stuffed olives, and jumbo VELVEETA shells and cheese. Yuck. I don't know. Did I give them a brand up? I don't know what we're going to do. And finally, one more. I'm sorry, we got one more. Subway. Brand up for Subway. Offering free sandwiches for life for fans who get a foot-long tattoo. That's right. Anyone who agrees to get a foot-long tattoo of a 12-inch by 12-inch logo of their sternum on their sternum or back will receive free sandwiches for life. The person will receive $50,000 worth of gift cards every year. And if that's what you want to do to get free Subway sandwiches, God bless you. And the world, one more question about Western civilization in general. And those are our brands of the week. Now, here's my interview with the great Vanessa Williams. I am thrilled that today's guest on our brand, Vanessa Williams. I could do a half-hour introduction on Vanessa. I'm going to shorten it by saying that other than being a multiple Emmy nominee, multiple Tony nominee, multiple Grammy nominee, author, star of new Broadway show we're going to talk about, voice of the brown M&M, which I just was my kind of favorite thing in your resume, former Miss America, entertainer du jour, mom, very kind of influential person in our culture in the last 30 years or so. Vanessa Williams, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow. Nice intro.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've had a nice life. It's interesting. I've followed you as a fan. Do you remember you did my show, The Big Idea, years ago? I don't know if you remember that on CNBC. Yes, okay.
I do.
But what is interesting is I can't think of anybody that's had a range of work like you as an entertainer. It is just, I mean, you with a capital E, that is, as I said, you just go from singing, dancing, acting, voiceovers, author, a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. And it's proof that you never know when it's going to happen. And you have to be creative and courageous when it comes in. You know,
courage and courageousness has been kind of a cornerstone through your entire life. Going back to winning Miss America, and then the death threats that came, the racist death threats that came. In your book, you talk about being molested as a child, and you talk about their abortion early in your life, and you had a lot of obstacles.
I do. I've had a lot of obstacles, but the older I get, the more mature I get, I realize that so many people have had similar struggles, and it's wonderful when you can connect. I mean, it'll be 40 years next September when I was 20 years old and my life completely changed as a junior, wanting to go away from my junior year abroad in London. And, life's plans, you never know what's going to happen. But it's been... again, the older I get, I'm 59 now, and I look back at my life, and I'm where I wanted to be. I'm on Broadway. This is what I planned on as a teen. I knew that it was going to be a tangible goal. If I worked hard enough, I could take the train into the city and do a good audition and get on a Broadway show. But to actually not only be on Broadway, but to have like experiences with Stephen Sondheim, who just passed away, and James Lapine, who's a good friend who I just had dinner with, and Bernadette Peters, who I just saw at Broadway Barks, and have relationships with these people that I idolized and worshipped and never thought that they would become friends. That's the thing that trips me out. Working with Cicely Tyson and remembering that when I was a child sitting on my parents' bed and watching Sounder and watching the Diary of Miss Jane Pittman and seeing that stellar work, and then getting a chance to work with her every night on Broadway, in 2013 and 2014 when we did Broadway, that we also did LA, and we also did Boston. So, I mean, those are the kind of things that make me want to pinch myself, because my dreams have come more of a reality than I ever could have thought about.
Yeah, there's a great line. I can't remember the movie now where somebody said, it was in broadcast news, where William Hurt says to Albert Brooks, "What do you do when your real life expectations and dreams have surpassed your actual?" And he goes, "You keep it to yourself." You've been very, very lucky. You, interesting childhood. You, from your kind of point of view, you were probably the first African-American girl who went from kindergarten to high school in Chappaqua, New York.
We think, we don't know any others. And we moved in 1964. We were the first Black family to move into Millwood, which is adjacent to Chappaqua, all part of the Newcastle, town of Newcastle. And, when I think back, my parents really lived the American dream. My dad was from Long Island, from Oyster Bay. Not a lot of money that he came from. My mother was from the inner cities of Buffalo, and both of them got educated. Both of them went to college. Both of them got their masters. Both of them decided to teach and raise a family in Westchester while they taught. They owned property in Manhattan. That was a rental. They owned property in the Poconos. They had property in up by Lake George and Ausable Acres, and got a chance to put their two kids through college. So it was an opportunity that really, I'm not the first kid in my school to go to college. My parents both have masters, and both me and my brother do not have masters. So they really
we're one of the rare downwardly mobile yuppies, right? I mean, not yuppies, baby boomers, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
so. It was the right time, the right choices, and the value of education is what was paramount in our household.
You, as a kid, how did you get into first performing? I mean, what was the first Vanessa Williams kind of like entree into the stage?
Well, I was always dancing. My mom put me in dance class probably in I don't know, when I was 4 or 5. And me and my brother and my cousins, we would always kind of do shows after. We would have dinners and then set up chairs and always do like a show, go on the hearth of the fireplace and sing along with whatever record was popular. So performing was very easy in our household. Of course, my parents are music teachers, so we always got a chance to play our instruments and sing, and it was kind of not expected, but it wasn't unusual. And I think it was when I was in probably the first time I have dance recitals all the time, but the first time I started doing musical theater was, I think, in 4th grade when we were studying Greece, and our project was to do a play, a student-written play. So we wrote the play, and I wrote a song with some other school kids called "Where Out There, Men of Greece," and I got my recorder out and sang, and then played along, and then of course choreographed a recorder, exactly.
Jesus.
And then choreographed a dance and danced with a toga that I had made from some sheets that I had decorated. So I always knew that I loved to perform. So it started young, but then I continued to dance, of course, was in marching band and chorus and concert band and orchestra. But when I was in high school and started getting lead roles and doing summer theater, and I was like, this is easy for me. And then I realized I could actually major in musical theater in college.
You went to Syracuse, right? Went to Syracuse, right?
Yeah. And I had gotten into, Carnegie Mellon and NYU and Cal Arts. And my parents like, we want you close. You're going to Syracuse.
Is that part of Newhouse, the musical, the arts, or it's a separate school?
Krause, it's part of Krause College, which is the arts school.
The arts school, okay, right.
Yeah. So it was kind of easy for me to transition. My parents were not, they never said, get a real job. They recognized my talent,
Yeah.
but they said, you're going to have to, do the work and get educated, and we'll support that.
How did the whole pageant thing come about?
The pageant thing came out
The
when
pageant thing.
Yeah.
All right.
When your freshman year as a musical theater major at Syracuse is your core year, you're just studying. So you're taking piano lessons and voice lessons and and construction, set construction, all these cool things. And sophomore year, that's when you're allowed to audition for shows. So the first thing I auditioned for was a musical review called Swinging on a Star, which Aaron Sorkin was in. Aaron Sorkin was a musical theater major at Syracuse University, by the way.
Wow.
So he was in it, and it was a kind of a review of Jimmy Van Heusen's songs. So, like Pocket Full of Miracles, and I sang Love is Lovely the second time around. And then from that, the next show was a Golden Apple, and I got into that. And then I did a show called down at the Landmark Theater, Heart and Soul, which was another review. And I auditioned for the Syracuse stage as the rep theater up there, and I auditioned for there was a production of Cyrano de Bergerac, and I got the part of it of the Orange Girl, which was a small role, but it would have gotten equity points for me to start my points to be an equity equity member on stage. And it was in April, and the show got canceled. And through each show that I did, I had a friend who was a classmate, and he knew somebody who was on the board of the Miss Greater Syracuse pageant. And he kept saying, my friend wants to know whether you want to do this pageant or not. And I was like, no. And then I had April free, and I called my mom. I said, do you think I should do this Miss Greater Syracuse pageant? She's like, is there money? I said, yes, do it. So my parents didn't even come up because I'd gotten scholarships the previous 2 years. But, everything helped against the tuition. And so I won Miss Greater Syracuse in April, and I sang a song that I did in performance class. My buddy played piano. I bought a swimsuit down at Sibley's downtown in Syracuse, and I was a dancer, so I was in great shape. And so I won Syracuse in April. Then I went to States, sang the same song. My friend played the same song and piano. And then I won States in July. And then I was on my way to Atlantic City that September, switched my song, got some better clothes, and the pageant director was kind of grooming me, and I ended up winning Miss America that September. And I was supposed to go to London to start my London my year abroad over there. So I had already had my down payment there. My girlfriend, my roommate, was already waiting for me. So I had no idea. I mean, I knew that I had the stuff to make it happen. But
Right.
in 1983, there had never been a woman of color to win.
And you were 19, 20 years old? I mean, you were a kid.
20 years old.
20 years old.
old.
So you get home that night. I guess you take your crown home.
Well, you don't even go home.
Oh, they take you on the tour at that point. That's it. Yeah,
I didn't make it home again till I think October or so,
Right.
for maybe a day or so, and then maybe it was Thanksgiving. But you're on the road every other day.
What's going through you? I mean, you're crowned Miss America, the most. I don't even know what adjective to use. The most beautiful, most talented, the most idealistic young woman in America is Miss America. So what's going through your head as a kid?
Well, you got to think of the time though. We're not talking the 1950s where, Burt Parks is saying, and there she is,
Right.
Miss America. This is 83. Burt Parks wasn't even part of the pageant. Being viewed for your looks was not the ideal that the women's right had moved so far ahead for. And so that's why I never thought it would happen, because I never thought that I was a pageant girl, nor did I ever aspire to be Miss America. So when it did happen, it was kind of a real comeuppance with my personal views on who I was. I mean, I was the first Miss America to say I was pro-ERA. I got heat from the get-go.
It's amazing.
From the first night, because I was, asked about my opinions, and I was very free about my freedom of choice. Do I think the ERA should go ahead? Geraldine Ferrara, fantastic. I'm glad a woman is finally running. So these were very outspoken and sometimes not welcomed views from Miss America. So the writing was on the wall from the get-go. And also, yeah, going down south. I mean, growing up in New York and
it's
hearing
different.
about,
Yeah. I mean, for New York, for you, the first woman to call Miss America was a great non-event in New York. And parts of chunks of this country, you were like the devil. I mean, it's just incredible.
yeah.
We live in two countries. So POTUS, obviously, you play Margaret, the first lady. I love the kind of the full title, POTUS, or behind every great dumbass are 7 women trying to keep him alive, which basically it takes place in the White House, but you could use that for basically any CEO in this country. It's interesting.
Yes.
I've written several books. In one of my books, I have a chapter called The Female Superiority Doctrine, and it comes from my company when I was running my ad agency. 8 of my 10, and this goes back to the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s, and 8 of my 10 senior partners were women, and that was the reason I was so successful. That I think women are superior to men. I could go for a half hour into why.
Thank you.
But I don't say that to gain points. I say that just pure. I learned there's a meritocracy. The simple reason is, from my vantage point, is that every man I've managed my life, they're so much more focused on how big their paycheck, how big their office is, how big their everything is, where women are truly collaborative and they want to do the thing. I'm generalizing, of course, but there's, we are weaker in that we bring so much more emotional baggage and insecurity to the table. And that's what I just found from working with thousands of people over here. I wasn't born that way. I grew up with a very strong mother and strong sister, but it's interesting, but it's kind of an underpinning. As you've got an amazing cast, Rachel Dratch, Julie White, Lily Cooper, Juliana Hough, Susan Nakamura, and you guys all are orbiting around a doofus president, and you are the first lady.
I'm the first lady.
And all you need to know about the show, the first word is the C word in the show, and that, probably I'm going to go on a limb and say in the history of Broadway, that's the first time that happened.
Absolutely. It's the first time that's happened. It's the first time that there's been an all-female farce, which has been fantastic.
Wow,
the audience has loved it.
Right.
It's very physical comedy. Susan Stroman is our director and is brilliant. But, it's been wonderful to be a maverick in this genre, but also the Gloria Steinem came to see us. Jane Fonda came on Sunday recently. But when Hillary Clinton came, there's in one of the first scenes in the first act, I'm being interviewed as First Lady by one of our White House reporters. And I'm talking about my accolades, undergrads, Stanford, then Harvard, law firm. I ran my husband's campaigns, and I also had my book, my cookbook, my gallery. I do taekwondo, proficient in everything. And she says, "Wow, why aren't you president?" And my response is, "That's the eternal question, isn't it?"
Yeah.
So normally it gets a laugh, and we go, "Ugh," anyway, because we're overqualified and easily can do it. And then at that moment, while Hillary was sitting in the audience, everyone stood up, turned to her, and started to applaud.
Oh man,
you must have
felt like crying at that moment. That I would have paid a lot to have been there that night. That's just amazing.
It was just, oh my God, what's happening? And can you feel the love in the room? And then it's like, what more do we have to do and accomplish to get the job? And that's kind of the underpinning of, like, we are all multitasking. We're all completely overqualified to do all of our jobs. All of us are equipped to be the next president. And why isn't it happening? We do it in fun.
We'll get back to the show and say, what always astounded me about Hillary, and I know Hillary not well, but I've met Hillary numerous times over the years, is how many women had issues with Hillary, and how many women have issues with women in power, and how a woman in power, and this goes through across the board, whether it's a CEO or a president, has to approach using their power so differently than a man. And we're still in the year, of course, we're going backwards in so many ways, but still in the year 2022, we're still there.
Yeah, it's still the likability factor. Well, is she likable? Well, is she going to be friendly? Well, is she nice enough? And, forget all the achievements. It's the likability factor that is infuriating most of the time.
The president is a tremendous doofus. Were we inspired by our 45th president at all? Or is that kind of an underpinning? Because I know also there's a lot of homage to the various first ones. You wear a headband in one act. There's Hillary. I mean, so there's pieces of the different first ladies in there. Yeah. And how much of the president is is former President douchebag Trump?
Well, well, Selena Fillinger, who wrote it, is 28 years old. She started writing this 5 years ago as a part of a playwrights project at Princeton University, and that's when she did her first workshop. She didn't want to make the president one specific person because there are many acts that are talked about in the show that can be cover many different presidents and what their behavior was. So it's not just 45. And that's what's freeing, because it's not about one person. It's about people trying to spin something that makes their day go crazy, which is this C word, which is basically he's describing to the press that his wife was having a cunty morning, and that basically starts the entire day.
That she wasn't at an event, and she actually was at the event.
Yes, yeah.
And you've met you've met 5 first ladies yourself.
I have.
Any threads? It's so, I mean, they're all so different and whatnot, but anything, just your net takeaway? Okay, I've met 5 first ladies. Finish that sentence.
And they all have to be incredibly gracious, and I would have to say regal, and there's a lot of damage that they got to cover, which is basically what I think it shows in the show, that spinning stuff and what the truth is, what happens behind the scenes, and what the optics are something that I think every administration has to go through. What really happened and what they're going to tell the people.
You met Nancy Reagan after you won the crown. You were invited to a state dinner at the White House. What was your take on Nancy?
She was lovely, and she was very gracious. I mean, I remember standing in line, and Halston was there, Martha Graham was there, Ginger Rogers was all standing in the receiving line with me. And it was just, at 20 years old, it blew my mind. I mean, what am I doing here at the White House, within a month of becoming famous? And it was incredible. So she was very regal. He was wonderful. He called me the night that I won at my hotel room after I had finished my walk, and he said it was a great thing for our country, which was amazing. And then after I went through the receiving line, and there was, the cocktail reception, and I really went alone, so I had no one really to talk to. And the Bushes and Colin Powell kind of talked to me all night and made me feel amazing. And we talked about dancing. Colin Powell used to dance in Roseland Ballroom, and talking about salsa with him, and growing up in the Bronx. And then the Bushes were wonderful and warm and inviting. So that was a lovely entree to the White House and my experiences.
I always wonder in theater, as I'm watching and thinking that you have to, I'm going to use the term, kind of get it up every night. Every night it's the same show. Obviously, it's different every night. But how do you get, once again, because somebody's sitting in a theater and they're watching, it's their one experience, and yet you're doing 8 a week. What's the method? How do you rally for that night after night? Keep it fresh for yourself.
The method is fresh coffee. As soon as I walk in, I said, "Where's the coffee? Do you have any brewing?" And then it's like once you hit that stage, you could be dragging backstage. We can be groaning. Here we are. The audience could be non-responsive, but you gotta get through it, and you kind of rely on each other to give each other that amazing energy to get through the show, and you find it eventually. And even if the audience isn't into it as much as you'd like them, then you find the humor within yourself and the other ensemble to kind of make it fun. So it's a family.
How has it been different with an all-female ensemble? I mean, you've been in so many different theater iterations, so many different productions, whether it's a television, movie, or whatnot. Probably, I'm going to guess this is the first time it's just exclusively female, and the playwright's a woman and the director's a woman. So what's any kind of different, what's the net takeaway for you saying, now I've worked with so many collaborations with so many people. They're always just, obviously men and women, because that's the way things usually shake out. What's been different here?
Well, the rehearsal process, having an entirely female rehearsal area where nobody was male, there was a sense of kind of safety. where you could fail, you weren't being judged, you didn't care what you were wearing. So it was that kind of sorority kind of mentality where it felt very, very, very safe and unusual for me, because I've never ever been in an experience like that. Even if there's an all female cast, the DP is usually
Sure.
male. There's always male grips and booms and all
Well,
that stuff.
is the crew all female? No.
Well, not the crew, but like we had lighting designer was female. The sound designer was female.
All the creators.
All the creatives. So
Yeah.
in our little space, everybody was female. So it was with the exception of Beowulf Britt, who did our he did our set, but he only was there to build and then he left. So there was a sense of safety. And it was unusual because I don't have a sister. So I don't belong to a sorority. I'm not in any girls group. So I've always had collaborative men, and I love men. I am not like a male hater. And so, it was unusual. And now that I've been with my band of gals for so long, it's really comforting.
How old are your kids now?
Melanie is 35. Jillian just had a baby. She's 33. My son is 29. And Sasha, I just finished shooting a movie with her on Monday, she's 22.
How do you explain to a 22-year-old what's going on now in the world, how we're going backwards? How do you when she turns, obviously she's an adult, but still a young adult. What's the mother prescription when they turn to you, Ma, how is this happening? I mean, this is to me, I don't, how is this possible? What's your explanation?
She's on fire, which I'm glad she is. And she is eager to soak up all the knowledge that she can. She asks lots of questions. She listens to a lot of opinions, and she's opinionated. So she's a fighter. And I think that's been wonderful for women to be set on fire, because we never thought in our lifetime, at least for me, that things would go backwards instead of moving forward. So she's fine. It's acceptable for her to be outraged, and they are on fire to vote, which I remember, when I was her age at 22, I was working, I kind of didn't do my due diligence in terms of voting the way I should have. But now these kids are on fire.
How'd we get here? I just want your point of view. This show, I do a lot of politicians, a lot of business people, a lot of authors, a lot of entertainers. And I kind of ask the same question to everybody, because if you would have looked into a crystal ball 10, 15, 20 years ago and described the kind of president that we had and described the state of the union right now in terms of what's going on with guns, what's going on with Roe v. Wade, what's going on with January 6th, you would say, if somebody was pitching it all in a script, you go, it's too big. No, it's too broad. Pull it back. It's just not believable. So how did we get here?
Fear mongering, fear fueling the fear. That's and when people don't know I don't say when they're not worldly, but fear is a great deterrent to not move forward at all about anything, and to hate what you don't know. And again, my perspective of being born and raised in New York and having a much different experience in my lifetime, working with, not only working, being surrounded by LGBTQ people that I've grown up with, to have rights that are available to me and my children that were denied to my mom in her lifetime, and we fought for them and got them. It's all about fear. And all about like inactivity. I mean, again, when we talk about a said president, my attitude was, okay, well, it can't be that bad. And then it got worse and worse. Like, well, the hate can't continue that much. It can't get worse than this. And then, you end up having, in Chappaqua, a sign for Black Lives Matter was set on fire in front of the Quaker Community House on Route 133.
This is Chappaqua. This is not Mississippi. This is Chappaqua. This is a liberal enclave, 45 miles or whatever, 50 miles north of Manhattan. Yeah.
Another Black family
home
of
the Clintons.
Yeah. Another Black family from Chappaqua who's lived there for 40 years, whose kids went to the same school that I went. They had a Blue Lives Matter sign spray painted onto their driveway. And, they did nothing. And this is, again, the fear of change and the division that you talked about in the very beginning is heartbreaking, but it's also something that has been a big rally for many youths that, that are my kids.
Did you have to have the talk with your son that most Black parents have to have with their son that I didn't have to have with my son? And talk to me about that.
Yet again, even in Chappaqua, where it's considered an affluent community, I would have to tell my son Devin. I said, if you're with a group of kids, they're going to be able to spot you. So you got to make sure you do, you don't get into any trouble, because you're going to be the first one to be identified. And we also know people. We know the cops in Chappaqua, so we've been able to identify our kids and say, Rick Tolliver, just so you know, this is my son. So so everybody knows he belongs here. And that's the unfortunate thing that you have to do as a Black mother. Yeah. Even in Chappaqua. So how you feeling now, 59? How's it going? Take me, and so you've got so much going on. I mean, I didn't get to so much stuff. Your HSN, your clothing line, you're singing in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's just like you just got so much going on. How are you feeling now if you're going to kind of do a audit on, okay, Vanessa Williams, this is how I feel at 59? I'm anxious to be 60, because it's another whole decade.
60 fucked me up. I'm 64. I was all good and great at 57 and 58. 60 kind of threw me a little bit also. It really did.
Well, I'm going to be somewhere exotic, either on safari or some adventure where I can just enjoy and do something adventurous, which I love. And it's just time to do what I want to do, as opposed to feeling like, and I think the pandemic and just shutting down for 2 years allowed you to kind of weave through. I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable. That's not me. And help me kind of scrape away what I really didn't want to have to do and didn't want to do and didn't need to do. And it would always come back. So I'm going to wait for my music when I really want to do music. And when I find a great collaborator that speaks to me, as opposed to, oh my God, it's been 9 years, I got to crank out a new album because it's too late, So I kind of let the schedule kind of disappear and just maintain good health, man.
That's the thing. I don't know if you find this with your friends. It's like I find so much, it's like a bad parody of your life, where we talk so much more about health and staying healthy and staying young. I just, funny, this is very topical in my head. I just had my yearly physical today. And I was kvetching to the doctor that oh yeah, I'm 64 and this, and my back hurts. And it catches up no matter how hard you fight it. It just catches up with you. It just does. And you also start, I don't know if you feel this way, when you realize that you're not the target of anything anymore. The oldest advertising demo is 25 to 54. We're not, nobody sells us anything anymore. We don't count. We don't register anymore. And yet I still feel like there's so much ahead of me. And I don't know you well, but just in chatting with you, I could tell you feel the same way.
Absolutely. And I understand completely the body thing, where you bend over, your knees are like, ow, how did I do that? And what's happening? And you start limping and did I sleep wrong? Is my neck, what is it? What's the issue? So I get it. But I'm happy to still be here. And the biggest thing, I think, for this anti-aging beauty thing for women, that's where we're being targeted. Anyone who's 50, even 40 plus. It's all these are the products that will get rid of wrinkles. This is what's going to do to tighten your skin. What machine do you have here? What does this laser do here? And you start ending up getting I've got to do something soon. Everyone's doing 50 plus. I got to do something soon. And then you look at other people that have gone through some procedures and you go, oh my God, they don't look like themselves.
No,
I don't want that to happen.
I don't
to me.
get that. You're so naturally beautiful and you look amazing. What I don't get is the women who do that stuff. They don't look younger. They just look fucked up. I don't they have, I always wonder, don't they have loved ones that talk to them? Because that stuff doesn't happen overnight also. You know what I mean? The women that have had the crazy work done, it's usually not one thing and it's over a period of time. And don't they have children and spouses and parents and dear friends that can talk? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I'm sure they do, but that's that pressure of being seen, being in front of the lens. And even with Zoom calls back in the past couple of years, you turn on the camera and you're like, oh my God, where's the filter? Oh, geez, oh, get the angle, make sure the light's okay, because you're seeing yourself, much more closer, and you're seeing the reality of your age. So you got to make a choice. Do you age gracefully, or do you do something and hope that you can maintain looking like yourself?
What's cool about you is it's this shows, the whole premise of this show is that everybody and everything is a brand. And because you came onto the national, your prominence and your celebrity started with your beauty, but yet everything else you've done since then has not traded on that. Obviously, you're a successful actress and singer and dancer, and your physical appeal is part of it, but how does that, your personal brand, that was always kind of stamped on there. So is there always a part of you like fighting extra hard? No, I'm not just this beautiful woman. Here's the packet. Here's the stuff,
That, especially because my parents valued education so much, and not how you looked, and hard work, and not what you got by with because of your beauty and sweet talking, that I was always like, I'm going to impress you with my intelligence. I'm going to impress you with my talent. So that's always been like, one day I'll show you, one day I'll show you. So I've had the fire in my belly, but also the pressure to bring the goods. I mean, the name of my touring company is More Than Meets the Eye, because it's like, I don't want to be, I don't want to be judged, which of course you're judged through your whole life. That's part of being alive.
So what is the Vanessa Williams brand? What is, if I was going to ask you to describe your own brand?
Now, let's see.
It's a tough one. By the way, that's the toughest question anybody has to answer. And it's the way I wrap up every interview, but I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I would say adventurous and bold, to embrace whatever life has and be open to challenges. It's, I always talk about being judged, which is basically how I became famous. I was judged for
you literally, that's
beauty and
exactly.
And it's also been the biggest, and then I was judged being a scandalous beauty queen, and then I was judged, being new at recording. Can she make is she a one-hit wonder? So all these judgments that I've had to, I don't want to say break through glass ceilings, but just slash away with my sword, has made me really resilient, but also allowed me to tell people who don't care about what people assume you are. You know who you are. You'll get a chance. Just be you, be centered, and wait, and you'll get your opportunity. So that's kind of, I guess, I don't know what that means in terms of my brand, but it's having fortitude and not giving a fuck, really.
I love it. Vanessa, I had the pleasure of an interview 15 years ago on my CNBC show. It's been equally, if not more, enjoyable. I appreciate your time. The show is POTUS. Run, don't walk to see it. It's not going to be here forever. It is really a treasure. And so thank you for sharing your time, Vanessa. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Donny.
Stay well and healthy, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for listening to On Brand. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Vanessa Williams and our Brands of the Week. And remember to stay tuned for our next episode. And don't forget to download anywhere you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Anywhere you get podcasts, and watch our videos on YouTube. You can download them there. And remember to also subscribe in your YouTube and leave us your comments. We love hearing from you. Have a safe week. We'll see you next week on Brand. Everybody, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit that subscribe button. And we love having you here watching On Brand. And just don't miss any future episodes. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.